Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This is a video that a lot of people have been asking about and waiting for. So here it is. This is the official video because this Hardy hybrid right here is being picked up out of my workshop tomorrow. Now, just for disclosure, yes, I have sold this rifle. Hardy has done a lot of testing on this rifle, and I believe I can sell it in good conscience that the rifle is actually finally sorted. But this is my review of the Hardy hybrid rifle. It's taken me a long time to get my head around this and what's gone on with this rifle, but also kind of get rid of my own losses and kind of annoyedness with it. So this is why this video has taken me a really long time. And just straight off the back, what I want to say is I really respect the guys at Hardy, Dan and his lady Katie. I really want to, this is not going to be a bag on Hardy rifle. I really want to respect them, and that is why this video has taken so long to actually come out. Got some range clips. We've got shooting down on rocks at 1260 yards, I believe, with this rifle. There's all sorts in this video, guys. So if you're looking for my thoughts, my experience, my review with the Hardy hybrid, this is that video. I want to be careful that I'm honest with some of my mistakes. And I'm not going to go too deep into some of the mistakes that I believe Hardy made with this rifle, but I'm just going to go over my experience with the rifle. Now, I purchased this rifle because I wanted to stop fiddling around with rifles. It was my intention was to stop wriggling, I'd like to call it. That's what my wife calls it too, just stop fiddling around with rifles, but I can't help it when you love rifles. So the idea with this was that I was going to get the 26-inch muzzle brake barrel kit and a carbon wrapped barrel, and also I was going to get an 18-inch carbon wrap barrel with a suppressor and the muzzle brake. That's a Mini Artis suppressor. It was really good. So that was my intention, was kind of my everyday hunting, bush barrel, South Island open tops, long range barrel. Guys, that was my intention, was to go down to one rifle and then eventually build a 6mm Creedmoor for my girls, have one platform, scopes that change out on quick release mounts and things like that. That was my intention. So if you're not familiar with how the hybrid system works, I will say it is a piece of engineering that there's nothing else on the market like it in the hunting space. There is in the military space, but not in the hunting space. So, oh, don't you fall off there, mate. So what it is basically is, if you're not familiar with the hybrid, what it is a switch barrel rifle. So you can slide the barrel inside that action, lock that in there, you slide your bolt in through here. As you put that bolt down, get a supplied torque wrench, do up those 3 screws, and there you go, you put your barrel on your rifle. And if you want to change your barrel, you undo those 3 screws, pull your barrel out, run your next barrel, and off you go. You can use a ballistic offset in the scope, or you can quick release mount your scopes off and just label which scope goes on the barrel. So it's a pretty amazing system. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to start with all the good, because there's a lot of good, and then I'm going to go into my story and some of the struggles that I made for myself, and also other struggles that I had with the rifle platform. So some of the good is that the rifle really, the engineering on the rifle, when I really start to look at the buttress threaded interchangeable head, it's just an engineering, from an engineering standpoint, it is just a piece of art. This thing is absolute artwork, guys. I do believe in New Zealand we have such a thing called tall poppy syndrome. And I want to speak really kindly to the mind of Dan Hardy and the team down there. This thing is an incredible feat of engineering. Like when you really start looking, it's like, to be honest, for what they're worth, the engineering time that would go just into that bolt head to machine that, to the tolerances that it's machined to, are really, really impressive. So I want to say from that, I don't want to knock the tall poppy down. I really do think in the industry this is really special. Really special. I think the rifle looks awesome. The fact that you can build different barrels, you can change the bolt head out from 223 right through. This one here is Lapua, a 5/8 bolt. It's got the room in the magazine well to go 3.8, a single piece aluminium action, best trigger on the market. The biggest thing that I would say with this rifle is when I was doing load development, it never shot over 3/4 of an MOA. It is wicked accurate. This rifle never had accuracy issues until we started getting into the issues. But in terms of accuracy, can't fault it. There's a little clip that I'm going to show. I'm shooting rocks in the Tongariro National Park. That was out at 1,260 yards, guys. And this thing just eats it up like clockwork. Now, part of that is the 300 Norma improved. So I will say this started out as a 300, just a standard 300 Norma Magnum. And when I improved it is when we started having some problems. What I'm going to do now as well is I'm going to dive into my journey with it and just tell you pretty much what happened. Because this rifle, I've owned it for 5 months, I believe, and I still haven't got load development even close to being done, and I won't. So, what happened? Okay, I just want to make clear, I purchased this rifle second-hand. It's a 2021 model, so it is now going on 5 years old. So when I started to do load development with the standard Norma non-improved cartridge, I was getting on CCI primers, 1/4 of the time I was getting misfires. So that kind of, I've never really had that. I now know that the hybrids come out with a pretty low strike power, which is basically as fast as the pin goes forward. And they do that for a reason. And the reason being is because the more strike power you put behind the bolt, the more it just kind of jars the rifle. So they have a low strike power, and I'm sure it helps increase the accuracy. But with CCI primers, I was getting misfires. And some of you guys pointed that out. I chucked a video up. To be honest, I was pretty annoyed. Kind of reactive video. And I think about 1,000 of you guys watched it, and you basically, I think there was about 6 or 7 guys said, change out from CCI primers. And so I thought, cool. But the feedback I got from Hardy was, that's not a known problem. So when I went to Federal, the misfire issue stopped. So that was my first kind of thing with it. Then, I'll put up my hand for this one. I broke this rifle. So what I did is I had my barrel on, and it had all been improved. So I spent some money with Hardy. I got this one turned down from a steel to carbon. I rechambered everything. 2 barrels, the dies. I was getting all ready to go. I decided to do a cream of wheat fire forming process, and I never got past the first case. And the reason being is because my charge weight was just too low, and it sort of half formed the case, which I believe started some of the problems. So I put my hand up for this. I broke, what it did is it actually pulled the extractor forward, and it broke the extractor. And so I looked at it and thought, well, there's no feed control, like the extractor. Yep, okay, I broke it. So I said, yep, I'll pay for that. So I was running around with a rifle for a while with no extractor, The Hardy got it to me real quick, and there was one part that I was a bit worried about, was parts support, is you kind of have to go to Hardy, but they were probably more fair and reasonable than they needed to be in supplying me with a new extractor. That got all put in, and I sent the bolt up to them. That got all fixed. It was like $20 or something like that. So anyway, then I got into fireforming. I fireformed a bunch of loads. Then I obtained load data from Hardy, and then the guys at Hardy, I won't say Hardy themselves, and then I went through into load development, which is where I had another breakage. The second breakage, and the bolt head kind of got stuck in the barrel, was that the pin that holds the bolt head in here had actually cracked inside of there, and one half of it had fallen out into the barrel. So I sort of carefully managed to get it to bits, but that was that. There was another range trip gone. So bolt head pin broke. So again, Hardy were really fair, and they sent me one down for, I believe it was actually nothing. Put that in. I paid like $6 for shipping or something like that. Put it in, and I was like, sweet, off I went. Went back to the range, had my load development again. I went a couple of shots, and as I went to go put the bolt down another time, it just went click. So the firing pin went forward, and I thought, oh, that's really odd. So I changed the barrels out, tried it. Yep, firing pin's still going forward. Okay, which means something's moved, something's gone wrong. So the rifle wouldn't shoot. Basically, I couldn't close the bolt because the firing pin would go forward. If it was a standard bolt action rifle, that rifle would just go off. But because of the way the head spacing works with that threaded head, it was just slightly striking and not actually sending it off. So I was thankful for that. Before the rifle went back up to Hardy, what I did was I realised when I was taking the tang screw out, the rifle was rocking really badly in the stock. And so I actually went down to hunting and fishing, and the guys down there said, yeah, you can drop it in our stock and we'll just check it. And the rifle functioned perfectly in the stock, in the hybrid down at hunting and fishing. So I knew it was probably the stock or something there, which they confirmed, and they put a partial pillar in the back to just raise it up. Rifle came back. The first time I took it out in the workshop, I put the barrel back on, loaded it down, and it went click. Same thing. And so I thought, okay, I don't quite know what to do here. I thought, okay, so I kept working the bolt, and eventually it didn't click. Changed barrels out, didn't click. Didn't go off, should I say. The firing pin didn't slide forward. So I just thought, oh, I'll take it to the range and see how I go. So I got 6 shots in of my load development again. So reloaded that load development. Got 6 shots in, closed the bolt again, did it again. Same thing. It just went click. And then I was like, okay. So the stocks had work. They confirmed that the stock had moved. And now it was something else, which, yeah, there you go. So they did mention that the trigger had excessive wear, but the rifle was only 4 years old. So I actually contacted the original owner and just told him, and he's like, no, it's the original trigger, like there's no issues there. So the rifle goes back to Hardy, and I said, I've got the season coming up. I really need to be able to trust this rifle. And they ended up replacing the trigger. But when it came back, I do almost feel like they've replaced the bolt as well. I'm not sure. And it seems to function well. But if I can be truly honest, that many trips to the range and all of that, I don't even want to like take it to the range. I don't want to shoot it, which is really sad because this was meant to be the rifle that I was like, this is going to be it. For me, it's just this mental block where I cannot trust it. I just don't trust it that it will actually just work. Hardy tested it fairly extensively, they say. They put 50 shots through it just to verify that everything was fine. I asked for the speeds and what they were doing, and it all seemed fine. But now that I've just gone through the process quite a few times, and to be honest, like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know. I think it's good. I made it quite clear that if it's not good for the new owner, I think it would be good that it went back and got a new stock put on it. My hunch, and I'm talking as a non-Hardy hybrid expert here, is that the stock fitment was out from factory, potentially. The bolt going over and over has maybe caused some wear on the trigger that's slightly excessive. I just don't know. There's a few little design changes that I picked up on the other stock that was in hunting and fishing. This bolt, the screws are longer, the action screws, and there's a few different changes, and I just don't know. To be honest, I usually with rifle diagnosis and all of that, I know, but because it's super complex, this gun is very complex, and the engineering's quite high end, I just don't know. So guys are asking me, like, what happened? What was it? And I literally look at it and I just think, I don't know. I don't know what's been done to it at Hardy. To a point, I've asked quite a few questions, but all I know is that I don't want this rifle anymore. I've got another rifle coming from the US, which you'll see on the channel. I'm going back to my folding 28 Nosler. I just should never have sold that rifle. To the guy who's got that rifle, you're a very lucky man. But yeah, ever since the improvement work, it's been 5 months. I will say Hardy went beyond and above, I believe, without replacing the stock. I do believe they went beyond and above what they had to do as a second. I would purchase this, I'm the second owner of this rifle, to get it right. I honestly think that they really did go out of their way to make it right for me. For me, I just, if I take this all the way into the South Island and it goes click, I will probably claim it on insurance because I'll throw the thing down the hill. So I just can't trust it. I look at it and I have there's nothing there for it anymore. It's just been too much water under the bridge. So that is why it is no longer going to be in my possession. Honestly, my experience with Hardy was they did things quickly. They were more than fair and reasonable. I even came out and said, guys, this is costing me, like, every time I go to the dealer network, guys, and pick it up, it's like a 50-minute drive one way, and I've done this quite a few times. They understood that. They reacted well to it, and they printed labels for return shipping. Like, I feel like they really did go above and beyond. I don't know if it's because it's me and I'm putting stuff like out there. I don't know. I can't say. I think it would just be like judgmental to say it was. I guess when I bought this rifle, I kind of thought, I've arrived. And I did not. So I know the Hardy guys are going to watch this. And I know I wanted it to be balanced. I wanted it to be honest. I wanted it to be fair. I think they're a great bunch of dudes up there. I really do. I think they're on the leading edge of gun manufacturing. I really do. I do think that. I think one of my things that I always do in my reviews is, like, who is this made for? And I would say that's a really important part of what Hardy marketing should probably be incorporating in their marketing. This is made for the guy who just buys a Hardy hybrid with like 3 barrels and just goes down and just gets a packet of factory ammo and just shoots it and changes the barrels out. I would say this is not a reloader's rifle. I also do think this is not a, I personally just don't know if this should be chambered in like, you know, 230 grain going 3,000 feet per second, 338s. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about them. They've tested their product, but I can see just how complex it is that, you know, this suits a guy who's he just wants a really nice rifle. He can switch the barrels out. He's running just factory ammo, and just that's it. Just go and shoot it. It would be fine, probably day and night, all day long, for a long time. But me and this rifle, we just did not click, and we just really didn't click. So yes. So there you go, guys. That's my take on the Hardy Hybrid. It's a bit of good with a bit of bad. I'll let you guys be the judge of the information that I've shared. And I really want to reiterate as well that the guys, there seems to be in the industry, I don't know, I've never owned a Hardy product, but in the industry, there's a little bit of chit chat about Hardy and their customer support and the lack of customer support. And I would say I did not experience that at all. These guys bent over backwards for me, and they wore a fair bit of cost to get this rifle ready to go out in the hills. It's just me. I'm done with it. I can't do it anymore. So I've just gone a different direction. But yeah, I just really wanted to reiterate that, guys, that I can speak pretty well of Dan and his team. I hope you found that interesting. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for it. So yeah. Yeah. I'm sure this one may get some comments flying. That's fine. I'm not a marshmallow, I can take it. But that's just my honest experience with it. This one's been the most temperamental and probably disappointing rifle that I've ever owned. I just had such high expectations of it, and those expectations were really let down. So yeah, very good.